What will the future look like? Here are the top 10 megastructures that future humans will build. Number 10. The Space Elevator. The space elevator is a potential future megastructure that would be used to transport materials from a base in space to outer space. Alternatively, space elevators could be used instead of rockets to transport materials from Earth into space. Space elevators would consist of a structure that is fixed in place. This structure could be grounded on Earth and ascend to a geostationary orbit, or GSO. Currently, mankind doesn't have anything strong enough to build space elevators with, but scientists are looking to carbon nanotubes as potential materials. Number 9. Topopolis. Topopolis is a sci-fi megastructure that was invented by Pat Gunkel. Also known as cosmic spaghetti, Topopolis are essentially tube-shaped habitats. These tube-shaped habitats loop around their host star, kind of like spaghetti noodles looping around a meatball. The tubes are very long, with some measuring hundreds of miles. The tubes rotate to produce gravity on the inner surface, where people live. Topopolis could loop numerous times around their star, forming a geometric figure called a torus knot. And because they are so long, they could house millions and millions of people. Number 8. Bernal spheres. The Bernal sphere was first proposed in 1929 by John Desmond Bernal. The Bernal sphere is filled with air and spins around to make its own gravity. Originally, Bernal spheres were around 45 miles in diameter and were designed to house around 20,000 to 30,000 people. The spheres are completely enclosed, and sunlight is directed through the sphere by way of large mirrors. The spheres have space for agriculture, so sustainable living is attainable. The sphere shape was chosen because it's the optimal shape for air pressure and for shielding radiation. Before we move on, be sure to subscribe to Daily Top 10s with notifications on so you don't miss any of our videos. Number 7. Orbital rings. An orbital ring is a future megastructure that is similar to a space elevator, but unlike a space elevator which ascends vertically between two fixed structures, an orbital ring rotates in the Earth's orbit. In an orbital ring, a rotating cable is put in a low Earth orbit, somewhere above the equator. From there, ring stations are constructed to stay in place above a specified location on Earth. Orbital rings would use electromagnetic support from superconducting magnets, and ring stations would be connected to the Earth by short space elevators. Orbital rings would allow fast and easy transportation of goods and materials between various fixed locations around the Earth and into space, eliminating the need for shuttles and rocket ships. Number 6. Dyson spheres. Dyson spheres were created to capture the energy of a star. Although only alive in concept, Dyson spheres are actually a very popular megastructure that are highly depicted in sci-fi movies and books. Dyson spheres were first described by Freeman Dyson, but they have since taken on many adaptations. Many variations of this sphere have been described or explained in exploratory engineering or in science fiction. And they would not just be used for solar power stations, they could also have habitats. In the original design, the star was fully enclosed, but that doesn't have to be the case. Variants of the Dyson sphere, like the Dyson swarm or the Dyson bubble, utilize objects around the star to collect energy. The star as an energy source and the megastructures needed to collect that energy are quite possibly something that future humans will build. Number 5. Alderson Disk. The Alderson Disk is the brainchild of Dan Alderson, and this massive astronomical megastructure has captured the imaginations of thousands since its inception. The Alderson Disk is a giant disk that is several thousand miles thick, built around the Sun. In an Alderson disk, the Sun sits at the center, and because the disk is so large, it has a higher mass than the Sun. There is a place within the disk that could support life, but that place is in a specific zone. The zone cannot be too far away from the Sun because then it would be too cold, and it cannot be too close because then it would be too hot. Furthermore, the Alderson disk presents another specific problem other than its habitability. Because the sun is stationary at the center of the disk, there would be no night and day. People living inside the disk would literally live in a forever twilight state. Number 4. Ringworld. Ringworld is a fantastically large megastructure that stems from a 1970 science fiction novel by Larry Niven. Ringworld, in the book, is 186 million miles in diameter and has the same radius as the Earth's orbit. The Ringworld spins around a central star to provide artificial gravity, and although the original Ringworld is highly speculative, many other authors and sci-fi enthusiasts have grabbed onto the idea and created alternate versions, including the Halo structure in the popular video game Halo, also known as the Niven Ring. Ringworld would have a massive habitable zone with the potential to house millions of people. So, it could potentially be a legitimate undertaking for future humans. Number 3. Islands in space. The fact that humans are ravishing Earth's natural resources is a major cause for concern. This concern leads people to conceptualize alternative living situations. Writer Gerard K. O'Neill showed concern for our destructive behaviors in the 1970s when he wrote his book called The High Frontier: Human Colonies in Space. In the book, O'Neill explains that humans must find a sustainable alternative to Earth. His solution? Islands in space. Islands in space are self-sustaining habitats. The first ones he described were 4 miles in diameter and 20 miles long. This gives the island an overall surface of 500 square miles, allowing upwards of 1 million people to live there. Of course, there would be more than one island, and the islands would vary in size. But the islands would share many similarities. They would all be enclosed, they would all rotate to provide their own artificial gravity, and they would all house sustainable ecosystems and resources. These sky islands, or islands in space, are obviously a long way off from fruition. But if mankind continues on the path we are on, it will only be a matter of time before this type of megastructure becomes a necessity. Number 2. Cloud Citizen. Where most futuristic megastructures exist in the final frontier of outer space, there are future megastructures being considered right here on Earth. As population density increases, populous cities have started looking to the sky as a potential habitable region. In fact, the city of Shenzhen, China, held a contest where it asked architects to design a future sky-themed megastructure. The winning design was a city called Cloud Citizen. Cloud Citizen is a megacity that could house a population of over 10 million people. The city would be as wide as it is tall and would be made up of 3 towers. These towers would be connected by floating skyways. The city would have office space, commercial space, leisure space, and cultural space, all suspended in the sky. Cloud Citizen was designed by Urban Future Organization, and their goal was not only to make a future megastructure capable of housing millions, they also wanted to create a sustainable ecosystem. So, Cloud Citizen would be powered by the sun, wind, and algae. Cloud Citizen would also harvest rainwater and would have farm modules that could grow food. Furthermore, Cloud Citizen boasts sky parks, which would be a resource for plants and agriculture. This megastructure of the city would also have 3-dimensional road maps with car elevators and roads that crisscross all through the sky. Or, as some people have pointed out, perhaps there is no need for cars at all in Cloud Citizen. Whether or not Cloud Citizen will actually come to fruition is not known, but Cloud Citizen does speak to the future of human megastructures, as mankind will surely reach a point where people see the need to build up. Number 1. Globus Cassis. Perhaps one of the most popular and famous future megastructures is Globus Cassis. The concept for Globus Cassis was created by Swedish architect and acclaimed artist Christian Waldvogel. He described a future Earth that would essentially transform our planet into a bigger, more sustainable artificial world. This artificial world would be hollowed out at the center, and people would live on two separate regions that face one another. Transportation between these two regions would be achieved through a connection through the hollowed-out center. Along with the habitable regions, there would be three other zones. One zone would be a polar zone that would be void of human life. The polar zone would be used to store raw materials. Another zone would exist near the equator. This zone would house the ecosphere. And a third zone would exist in tropical regions and would be home to agriculture. In Globus Cassis, all of the Earth's matter would be incorporated and utilized. For example, sunlight would stream in through large windows and would be used for solar purposes. And gravity would be artificially created by the centrifugal effect. It's a huge concept and highly speculative, but as mankind outgrows Earth's resources, perhaps something like Globus Cassis will be a necessity for our survival. In any case, Globus Cassis is one of the most famous and widely talked about potential future megastructures, which is why Globus Cassis has earned the top spot on this list of top 10 future megastructures future humans will build.